The last few months had been a nonstop whirlwind of professional pressure, an exhausting loop of demanding clients, unexpected system crashes, and back-to-back urgent deadlines. I was barely home at all, let alone spending any quality time with Melanie. Each week bled into the next without pause. It was all airports, rental cars, anonymous hotel rooms, and groggy mornings chasing caffeine before diving into full days spent troubleshooting technical messes. The thrill of solving problems had always driven me, but lately, a strange sense of discomfort had started gnawing at me. I tried to ignore it, blaming the fatigue, but deep down, something felt off. About 3 months back, Melanie started behaving differently. At first, it was small things, shorter phone calls, a distant tone when we talked. She stopped complaining about my constant travel, which bizarrely made me feel even more guilty. One weekend when I was finally free, she suggested I take an extra day to unwind, said she was heading on a spa retreat with some coworkers. That was out of character. Sure, Melanie enjoyed pampering herself, but she never passed up a chance to be with me when I was around. Still, I brushed off the quiet warnings blaring in my head. Maybe she was just settling into the new reality of our busy lives. Then the atmosphere at home began to shift. There was a new scent lingering on the pillows, something expensive and floral, unfamiliar. A silk robe I didn't recognize appeared draped in the bathroom. The whole house suddenly looked like a showroom, pristine, sterile, not like the place we'd lived in for 30 years. I even joked once that she'd finally kicked her habit of leaving coffee mugs everywhere. She laughed, but it was hollow. Her eyes stayed distant, like she was somewhere else entirely. The real gut punch came a few weeks later. I stumbled across a bottle of her favorite wine, unopened and tucked away in a kitchen cabinet. Melanie never drank alone. Wine was something we shared, late nights, laughter, long talks. That dusty bottle told a story I didn't want to hear. It felt like she'd stopped waiting for me to come home. I kept wanting to ask her about it, to just come out and say what I was thinking. But every time I came close, something inside me held back. Maybe I was afraid of what I'd find out. Work had become my safe haven, the one part of my life that still made sense. Long hours, impossible tasks, the satisfaction of fixing things, it kept my mind off the creeping dread in my marriage. I kept telling myself things would improve. I had just wrapped up the biggest job of the year, and even better, I was ahead of schedule. I decided to surprise Melanie for our 30th anniversary, to show her that even when I was buried in work, she still came first. That Thursday night, I was excited to head home. The drive had been brutal, but I was energized by the idea of seeing her reaction when I handed her the bouquet I'd picked out so carefully. 15 yellow roses, one for every 2 years together, a little tradition of ours. I could almost hear her laughing, gently mocking my sappy side. I was ready to fix things, to bring us back together. But as I pulled into the driveway and saw a strange car parked there, the low-grade alarm I'd been suppressing exploded into a full-blown siren. Something was very wrong. It had been a brutal week. I'd spent Sunday driving to a client's factory and the next 3 days untangling their network and database issues. By Thursday, everything was running like clockwork, and the client was ecstatic. I was ready to head home and surprise Melanie. She'd been irritated with my frequent travel, but when livelihoods are on the line, work takes priority. A bit about us. I run a small but thriving tech consulting business that I built from the ground up. Melanie and I tied the knot right after college. I've always made it a point to stay in shape. And even though Melanie wasn't exactly turning heads on the street, I always saw her as beautiful. She kept her curves after we had the kids, and she liked dressing up, swapping cars every few years, and working downtown even though I could have easily supported us both. Our kids, Lena and Colin, grew into capable adults. Lena's happily married, and Colin has 2 kids with his high school sweetheart. I got home around 11 p.m. that Thursday night after a 10-hour haul. There was a car in the driveway I didn't recognize, but I didn't think much of it. I grabbed the roses and quietly stepped inside, eager to see her smile. But instead of finding Melanie, I heard voices. I froze. My heart pounded. I turned around, walked back to the car, and grabbed my camera. The roses stayed behind. When I returned, I heard the man say, "You're sure your husband's clueless?" Melanie's laugh was nauseating. "Please, he hasn't got a clue. He thinks he's not home until Saturday. Everything will be cleaned up by then. He won't suspect a thing." The cliches hit me like a brick. Still, the guy said, if he finds out, this could get messy. He won't. He's too obsessed with that dumb company of his, she said. Now, where were we? I inched down the hallway, camera ready. The bedroom door was wide open, a soft glow spilling out from the bedside lamp. Hidden in the shadows across the hall, I hit record. I filmed for 30 unbearable minutes. I felt physically ill, crouched in the guest room, fist clenched, heart shattered. When they went for round 3, I couldn't take any more. I slipped out unnoticed. Melanie had always preferred stopping once either of us finished, but with him, she couldn't seem to get enough. At first, I was burning with rage. Then it turned cold, focused, deliberate. Revenge wasn't optional, it was inevitable. My heart was already mourning the family I thought we had. I found a cheap motel nearby, tried to rest, but sleep didn't come. My mind wouldn't stop spinning. I had no plans to hurt them physically, but emotionally and financially, they were going to pay for this. I'd make sure of it. I had his license plate number, so tracking him down wouldn't be hard. Melanie, on the other hand, would take a bit more finesse, but I already had some ideas. For starters, maybe it was time I took a closer look at her RSPs, which, ironically, I had been contributing to for years. She had a job, sure, but it barely covered her shopping sprees and the lease on her latest toy of a car. Meanwhile, every bit of our comfortable life had been funded by my business, the one I built from the ground up. That right? It ended now. I got up early, made a few calls, and reached out to my lawyer. I asked him straight, "Mark, do you know a good divorce attorney?" He sounded caught off guard. "Grant, what's going on between you and Melanie?" "She's been screwing around behind my back while I've been working my ass off," I told him bluntly. There was a pause. "Man, I'm really sorry," he said finally. "Try Sloane Carver. She's the best in the business." "Like the actress?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "I don't think so, but she's tough. You'll want her on your side." "Can I drop your name?" I asked. "Of course. Here's her number." After we hung up, I got cleaned up, threw on fresh clothes, and checked out of the motel. I wasn't about to sleep in my car, no matter how restless the night had been. By the time I got to the store, Ren, my office manager, was already in. She practically ran the place, and she knew everything about the business. I pulled her aside and told her the truth. Tears welled up in her eyes. Why does this always happen to the decent ones? I didn't have an answer for that. I kept out of her way after that, confirming my appointment with Sloane and watching the clock until Melanie left for work. That's when I started laying the foundation. I rang up an old buddy who runs a locksmith company. "Can you meet me at noon? I need the locks changed." "No problem," he said without hesitation. Then I picked up moving supplies and dropped by the DMV. For a mere $25, I got the full vehicle history on Melanie's car, just in case I needed it. I stopped at a florist next and ordered an urgent bouquet, offering a $50 tip if they could rush it. By early afternoon, I was at Sloane Carver office, and I'll admit, she caught me off guard. Tall, poised, and completely in control. For the first time since everything fell apart, I felt like I might just come out of this stronger. When she greeted me, I shook her hand. "Thanks for seeing me. Mark recommended you." "Call me Sloane," she said. "And you're Grant, right? Let's get to it." Her office was sleek and elegant, all sharp lines and quiet confidence. She motioned for me to sit. "Do you have proof?" she asked without wasting time. I handed over my camera. "Hit play," I said. She watched quietly. "How long is this?" "About 35 minutes. The first bit's audio, I was down the hall. The rest is video from the spare room." "They didn't see you?" she asked, now sitting upright. "Not a clue," I confirmed. "What outcome are you hoping for?" I sighed and leaned forward. "I've spent 3 decades building a business that supports everything we have. It's mine, not hers. The last couple years, she's been distant, always too tired, never in the mood. Now I get why. I'm done. I want her completely out of my life." "Do you have a prenup?" "Yeah. Her father insisted on it. He passed a few years ago, burned through everything he had." "Can you get me a copy?" "I'll have my lawyer send it over." She nodded. "And your business? How's it structured?" "It's an LLC. I'm the sole owner." Melanie had a director title, but she never wanted any real responsibility. Sloane leaned back in her chair, thoughtful. "All right. Don't do anything stupid. I know you're angry, but don't hand her lawyer ammunition." "I'm past the rage," I said quietly. "Now it's about control. I want them both to pay for betraying me." She laid out the next steps. First, head to the bank and strip Melanie from all financial access. Then we'd handle the insurance and legal filings. I left her office feeling focused, calm, even. At the bank, a young manager took care of everything fast. Within the hour, Melanie had no access to any of our accounts. The company card? Canceled. Joint accounts? Closed. I called Mark again, gave him the update, and looped in the bank manager for any legal questions. Then I grabbed lunch. By the time I got back to the house, the locksmith was there. While he rekeyed every door, I boxed up Melanie's things, 4 large boxes in all, stacked neatly by the curb. When he was done, I locked up the house with new keys in hand and headed back to the florist. The bouquet was ready, 15 black roses. I handed them to a delivery guy named Nate, gave him the address of Melanie's office, and told him to deliver them exactly at 4 p.m. Right on time, Nate dropped them off. Melanie opened the card to find our anniversary message scratched out, with a 0 written in its place. Inside the envelope were photos of her belongings, now sitting on the lawn. She lost it. She called me nonstop, but I ignored her. I told my staff I'd be off-grid until Saturday. Later that night, I set up webcams at the house to watch remotely. When she came home, she tried the doorknob, rang the bell. I didn't answer. She sat on the front steps sobbing before calling again. I finally picked up and told her flatly, "Have your boyfriend come get your stuff. From now on, all communication goes through my lawyer." That night, I fell asleep in a strange sort of peace. The chaos had finally tipped in my favor. The next morning, I checked my messages, 3 from Lena, 2 from Colin, and over 30 from Melanie. I deleted them all. After running a few errands, I headed to an internet cafe and looked up her new boyfriend, Derek K. Lawton. His company had a squeaky clean image, strict ethics, family values. I couldn't help but wonder how they'd react to a video of him cheating. I filed that thought away for now, saving it in case he tried anything stupid. When I drove back, Melanie's car was in the driveway. I didn't stop. I kept going straight downtown. If she wanted to talk, she could go through Sloan. A couple hours later, her car was gone. There was a note on my door. I didn't bother opening it. Just tossed it, unread. More missed calls from the kids. I called Colin first. "Dad, did you really throw Mom's stuff on the lawn?" he asked. "Yeah," I replied. "I caught her cheating. I've got the video." "You have a video?" He sounded stunned. "I do," I said. "I recorded them last Thursday night." "It's real," I told him. Colin paused. "I just can't believe it. Mom would never." "Ask her about her meal ticket," I interrupted. "She'll know what that means." I hung up and called Lena next. "I know something happened, Dad," she said. "But why did you throw her stuff out like that?" "Because she cheated," I replied bluntly. "Call it what you want, but betrayal is betrayal." Her voice cracked. She told me it wasn't true. "I've got the footage," I said. "You can see it if you need proof. But I wouldn't recommend it." "She swears you're wrong," she said softly. "Then ask her about Derek K. Lawton and that little meal ticket comment." Lena was quiet. "I can't believe this. I figured you'd take her side," I admitted. "Doesn't change how I feel about you and Colin. I love you both." After the call, I saw Ren had messaged me on the burner phone. I planned to check in with her later, but I needed to rest. While I was trying to nap, Melanie and Lawton came sniffing around the house. I ignored them. 10 minutes later, they were gone. Later, I grabbed food at a quiet pub and returned home to find Lena on the front steps. "Dad, my key doesn't work." "I changed the locks," I said. "You and Colin will get new ones after this is sorted, if you still want them." "Why not now?" she asked. "Think about it," I said simply. She looked confused. "Why aren't you with Aaron?" "You're here because Mom wants you to change my mind," I said. She followed me inside. I locked the door behind us. "She says you're making a mistake. She says there's no other guy, and that you don't have any video. If she wants to see it, tell her lawyer to contact mine," I replied. "Sloan has the full copy. I don't even think she has a lawyer." "Then she should get one." "She wants forgiveness," Lena said quietly. "Oh, so now she admits something happened?" I asked. Lena sighed. "Yeah. When I pushed, she broke down." "Well, that's her mess to deal with. I'm done cleaning up after her." "You're being too hard on her." "I never said I was perfect," I replied. "But I never cheated. I worked hard. I sacrificed. Can she say the same?" "You should watch the video," I added. "You'd understand more than you think." "She's going to take you for everything," Lena warned. "Not with that prenup," I said. "Her father insisted on it. If she wants to see it, Sloan has a copy." Lena didn't respond. She turned, walked to her car, and left without another word. "Welcome to reality," I muttered as she drove off. Sunday brought a storm, heavy rain that kept Melanie and Lawton away. I watched it from the window, sipping coffee while the street filled with water. It felt like a metaphor for everything, the flood after the collapse. I checked emails. A few messages from Tyler B. asking me to forgive Melanie. I archived them. Out of curiosity, I researched alienation of affection. It was a long shot, but Sloan might know if it applied. I also found Melanie's employment contract tucked in a drawer and noticed the morals clause. Something she probably forgot existed. It could be useful. I spent the rest of the day changing every password, shutting down access to shared systems, and watching TV with the volume low. There were 4 new voicemails. Lena apologized. Colin said he'd call after talking to their mom. Melanie had left 2 more, deleted without listening. I picked up my Kobo and tried to lose myself in a book on Cold War espionage. On Monday, I hired a junk service and dragged out all the bedroom furniture, left only the lamps. The room felt emptier, but lighter. At the store, I made it clear, if Melanie contacts me, all messages go through my lawyer. Ren smirked. If she shows up, she'll be dealing with me. Good. If she refuses to leave, call the cops. I bought a new bed that afternoon. No haggling. It was delivered that night. At lunch, Marta doted on me like a concerned aunt, while Slim offered quiet support with a firm nod. It meant more than they knew. Back at work, I sorted through more messages from Melanie. I kept one, just in case. Sloan confirmed the divorce filing was solid. Infidelity was our official grounds. I also brought up the alienation of affection possibility. I called Mark to finalize a few corporate documents. He caught on that something was off, but didn't press. I asked him to send everything to Sloan and the bank. Then came the chaos. Melanie tried to force her way into my office. Ren and Amber blocked her. She slapped Ren right across the face. Ren didn't hesitate. She called the police. They arrived quickly, calmed things down, and escorted Melanie out of the building. Ren pressed charges. I called Mark and requested a restraining order. 100 meters from the store, 300 from my house. He said he'd expedite the process. By Wednesday, I signed new corporate documents with Mark and discussed the prenup in detail. Melanie was entitled only to what she brought into the marriage, her car, her RSPs. That was it. The house and the business were untouchable. Sloan called later. Melanie refused to sign the divorce papers. Not surprising, I said. She'll need to retain her own counsel, Sloan added. 3 weeks dragged by. Sloan checked in again, still no signature from Melanie. She's losing her safety net, Sloan explained. She can't live on her income alone. Then the real shock hit. Melanie pled not guilty to the assault. I can't believe her lawyer's letting her do this, I muttered. The trial wouldn't start for months. In the meantime, the divorce proceedings slogged on. Melanie's lawyer tried to challenge the video's authenticity. The judge barely concealed their annoyance. Desperate, Melanie then requested joint counseling. I agreed, but only to solo sessions first. When it came to joint sessions, I insisted on bringing my own counselor. They pushed back, but I didn't budge. At the first session, Melanie and her therapist were already seated. I walked in, sat across from them, Ben beside me. When her therapist addressed me formally, I corrected her. Please, Ben can just call me Grant. I turned to Melanie's therapist. Just so we're clear, if she starts spinning excuses, I walk out. She nodded. You'll get your turn. And I intended to use every second of it. I laid it all out in the session, how I caught Melanie cheating, how I recorded it, how she laughed about deceiving me. She tried to cut in, but I stopped her cold. You talk, I walk, I warned. That shut her up. When the session ended, Ben and I left without another word. Outside, he asked if I wanted him to keep attending. No, but stay close. Just in case Melanie tries anything, I said. That evening, someone knocked on my door. It was Lawton. I didn't waste a second. I called the police. They showed up fast and escorted him off the property. He didn't say a word, just glared like a kid caught stealing. The rest of the week passed quietly. No messages from Melanie, nothing from the kids. I buried myself in work. Amber got engaged. No date yet, but I was happy for her. Ren, however, was getting a little too involved in my personal life. I started taking more client visits just to get some space. If it all got worse, I figured I could just sell the house, give Melanie her share, and start over somewhere else. Sloan told me our case was strong, and Melanie's cut depended entirely on how generous I felt. And that generosity? It was running out. I joined a gym, got a trainer, and actually started eating better. Slowly, my sleep came back, and so did some peace of mind. The second therapy session was more of the same. Melanie made excuses for cheating, loneliness, neglect, blah blah blah. I didn't buy any of it. Ben wrote notes while I mentally checked out. I told him to cancel the next session. It wasn't helping. The third session? Worse. She brought the kids. Clearly coached. I looked right at Ben and said, I'm not staying in a marriage built on lies. That was it. End of the road. The settlement came next. In court, the judge allowed the divorce to move forward. As we walked out, Sloan gave me a quiet hug. 6 more months, she said. Then you're done. The terms were simple. Melanie kept her RSBs and the car. I even agreed to pay off the loan. I kept the house, the business, and all the furnishings. She got angry when I mentioned the bedroom suite was gone. Well, she ruined it. That's what happens. After the divorce was locked in, I asked Sloan to file an alienation of affection lawsuit against Lawton. It probably wouldn't go far, but it felt right. Then I mailed the video to Mrs. Lawton, along with my number, in case she wanted to talk. 2 weeks later, Andrea Lawton showed up, with her kids. I'm Andrea. Can we talk? She asked. I welcomed them in. She thanked me for ending her marriage. We're getting divorced, she said. And by the time I'm done, he won't have a pot to piss in. She said she'd suspected something but never had proof until the video. I just wanted you to know what kind of man you married, I told her. If Melanie had owned up to it, I added, maybe I'd have handled things differently. But she never did. Andrea nodded. We're moving to Victoria. I've got a job lined up. New start. I wish you the best, I told her. She smiled. Oh, I'll be fine. He'll get what's coming. After a few more minutes, she and the kids left. I stood at the door, feeling a wave of calm. Justice doesn't always show up wearing robes. Sometimes, she knocks on your door holding a toddler and a diaper bag. I poured a beer, cleaned up the yard, and sat outside to relax. Then Rin pulled up. Don't you ever answer your door? She joked. Only when I want to, I said with a grin. She plopped into a chair. Got anything cold? White wine okay? Chardonnay, please. I brought the bottle out and joined her. So, what's going on? I asked. Was visiting a friend nearby. Figured I'd check on you, she said. Amber and the others are worried. You've been holed up here working too much. You sound like my calendar app, I joked. You haven't had a real vacation in years. Take a couple weeks. Go somewhere. Recharge. I'll take a break once the divorce is officially final. We know you trust us with the store. It's not about that. I sighed. Fine. What's the deadline? 16 days, she grinned. Deal. But I'm cooking dinner. You bring the Chardonnay. She laughed. It's a date. 2 weeks later, I took the break. I rented an RV and headed west to explore Canada. My first stop was a small campground. I grilled a steak, poured a glass of Merlot, and met a few friendly RV folks. After a couple days, I moved on. At a larger campground, I met Noah, a young guy who didn't quite fit the usual crowd. I'm Grant, I said. What brings you here? He shrugged. Spent a fortune on a tech degree, but there's no work around here. So I helped my grandparents run the place. What did you study? Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer. But no one needs me out here. Tough break. Any jobs nearby? Nope. Might have to leave after the season ends. I met his grandfather later that day. Smart kid, the old man said. Set up the campground's whole network. The next day, Noah showed me his setup. I was impressed. Clean configuration, stable throughput. Not just book smart. The guy knew what he was doing. You ever think about relocating? I asked. Noah nodded. If it means work, yeah, but I'd rather not leave home. Well, you're doing solid work here, I said. Appreciate you showing me around. Thanks, Mr. Whitaker. I went for a hike that afternoon but kept thinking about him. Later, I called Rin and pitched an idea. What if we offered Noah a job, but made it seem like it came from someone else? I didn't want him feeling like it was charity. We agreed. I'd pose as a friend with a lead for a network tech role. There was a legit position open back at the store, and I was convinced Noah was perfect for it. That night, I met Noah's mom, Karen, and her friend. They seemed close-knit. Karen mentioned Noah worried about leaving her alone, which only made me more determined to help him out. The next morning, I caught Noah while he was finishing chores. What if there was a job opening in Kent? I asked. IT work? In Kent. He sounded skeptical. I talked to a friend. His company's looking for a network guy. Not a big city, but it's stable work. Why can't they find someone local? Noah asked. I don't know. Just thought you might be interested. He looked at me carefully. Maybe. What's the catch? No catch. Just a job. What do you think? I'm interested. Who do I talk to? Noah asked, eager and hopeful. I handed him Ren's contact info. Her name's Ren. She manages the place. When should I go? I'll give her a heads up. When can you make it? Monday. Perfect. Go in, be yourself, and give it your best shot. He looked down at the number like he'd just been handed a lottery ticket. That evening, Noah's grandparents pulled me aside. Hank grinned. I figured it was you, but thank you. He deserves a shot. I think so too, I said. He's earned it. The next morning, I called Ren. Noah Granger will be coming by Monday. This about that mystery call I got? She asked, amused. Yep. His grandparents run the campground I stayed at. He's Microsoft certified and set up their entire network. Knows his stuff. Well, it's been a while since we've hired anyone new, she said. I'll meet with him, interview him, send him out for coffee, and if he seems like a fit, offer the job after lunch. He starts Monday. Got it, she replied. Then after a pause, why are you doing this, Grant? Because he's smart, humble, and just needs a break. Felt good to help. All right, St. Grant. We'll hire your mystery tech, she teased. I smiled, knowing the wheels were in motion. Later, Hank and I sat outside for coffee. What are you doing for Noah? He asked. I'm offering him a real chance. Not charity, he's earned it. He's ready. Just needs someone to say yes. I think he'll be fine, I said. If he doesn't mess it up, the job's his. We made plans to fish that afternoon, and I felt lighter knowing maybe, just maybe, I'd help turn someone's life around. After lunch, we came back with 4 trout. We cleaned them while Hank promised June would work her magic on the grill. Later, I grabbed a bottle of wine and headed up to their apartment. They were sitting out back, watching the birds and the barbecue. The smell of the fish cooking was incredible. Did you tell June? I asked Hank, half smiling. She swore she wouldn't say anything, he muttered. June gave me a hug. We really appreciate what you're doing. Noah's been packing all day. Karen had to talk him out of wearing a suit. I told him that would freak out my team, I said with a grin. Soon Noah, his mom Karen, and her friend arrived. Dinner was full of laughter and fishing stories. For the first time in a while, I felt like I was in exactly the right place. A few days later, I hit the road again, leaving Riverside behind but already planning my next visit. I had 4 days left on the RV rental, so I stopped at a few more campgrounds. Nice places, but none had the warm, down-to-earth feel of Riverside. On Tuesday, I called Ren. How's Noah doing? He's thrilled, she said. He's looking for an apartment already. The team loves him. He fits right in. Exactly what I hoped for. I got home Friday. The house was as I left it, quiet, a little overgrown out back. Ren had likely picked up the mail. No messages from Melanie. No surprise. That book was closed for good. Then my phone buzzed. It was Ren. Hey, you're back, she said. Just a figment of your imagination, I joked. She laughed. I knew you'd be back by now. Want me to drop off your mail? Sure. I'll grab some drinks. I'll be over soon, she said, hanging up. I was rummaging through the shed when she pulled into the drive. Where are you, you wanderer? She called. Over here, I said, locking up and heading to meet her. Something cold. I've got chilled Pinot Gris. Perfect, she smiled. We sat out on the deck. She handed me the mail, mostly junk, but 2 letters from Sloan and 1 from Mark. Mark's was just a final invoice. 1 letter from Sloan confirmed the divorce was finalized. The other was a request. Her firm needed a new computer system. I paused, glass in hand. How big did I want the business to grow? I needed to bring it to the team. We sipped our wine in silence for a few minutes before Ren finally spoke. Looks like you survived vacation. I didn't realize how burned out I was until I left, I admitted. But I'm feeling recharged. We knew. You didn't. It helped, even if I accidentally hired someone while I was gone. I chuckled. Noah's great. No ego. Just wants to work. Maybe his first project should be Sloan's system, I mused. Ren raised an eyebrow. That's a big one. Exactly. Before I commit, I want to meet with the team. We need to decide, do we grow or stay lean? I agree. Let's include everyone, even Noah. How about a planning session with food? Something relaxed. Sunday at 1 p.m., she said, already dialing. I'll let everyone know. Perfect. A few minutes later, I asked, pizza or Chinese? Pizza, she answered immediately. I ordered a giant deluxe. Over wine and pizza, we mapped out the Sunday gathering, first a staff meeting, then food and fun. Ren left early. I cleaned up and sat out on the deck, but something felt off. Just nerves, probably. It was an early night. I slept better than I had in weeks. Sunday went off without a hitch. About 20 people showed up. I held the staff meeting in my office while others relaxed outside. We made some decisions. Noah would lead the law firm project. We'd hold off on hiring another tech unless needed. Everyone agreed. No egos, no stress. Afterward, we joined the rest of the crew for food, games, and laughter. It felt like a turning point. By Monday, the routine had returned. Business picked up fast. Sloan's law office system was delivered under budget and ahead of schedule. I gave Noah and Jason bonuses for the work. I sat down with my accountant and set up a profit-sharing plan for the team to be distributed at year's end. Noah wouldn't be part of it this time, but he was off to a strong start. The store was steady, the staff dependable, and for the first Christmas in years, I planned to run things small and simple. The chaos was behind me. For once, the road ahead looked clear. Since I planned to work through the holidays, Rin and Amber handled scheduling, and the techs covered the rest. On December 23rd, I handed out surprise profit-sharing checks. Reactions were priceless. Amber and Rin teared up, and even the techs got emotional. We didn't bring in new hires. The current team had things running smoothly. We kept our weekday hours and closed weekends to give everyone some rest. My biggest challenge wasn't business, it was Rin. I liked her more than I meant to, but I'd always had a personal rule: don't date staff. I didn't want to risk the friendship we had, so I pushed the feelings aside. Then one Saturday, her daughter Tessa called. They were planning a surprise party for Rin's birthday and needed my help. Over coffee, Tessa said, "Mom really likes you." As her boss. I asked. No, as someone she cares about. She thinks you're not interested, maybe because she's not your type. I respect her, and I value our friendship. I don't want to ruin that. Tessa smiled knowingly. She's been waiting for you to make a move. She'd love it if you asked her out. I was hesitant, but Tessa's words stayed with me. The next day, I called Rin. Hey, it's Grant. I know that voice, she laughed. What are you doing tomorrow? No plans. Why? I thought we could go shopping. Shopping? You, she teased. RV shopping. I really like the one I rented. Thinking of buying one. She laughed. Now that makes sense. Pick me up before lunch. We had lunch, then toured RV dealerships. Rin was genuinely excited, pointing out features I hadn't considered. Afterward, I made a simple dinner at my place, and we spent the evening on the couch, wine in hand, conversation easy. Thank you, Grant, she said softly. Today was amazing. I just wanted to spend time with someone I care about, I replied. She looked at me, cautious but hopeful. Do you mean that? I do. I've been holding back, but I care about you. Rin, I'd like to take you out, officially. Her smile was slow, but sure. I've been waiting for you to say that. She leaned in and kissed me, then added, You better be sure. I'm a one-man woman. I'm sure, I whispered. I want you, not just for tonight. I want more. That night changed everything. The next morning, I woke up feeling at peace with Rin still asleep beside me. I made coffee and let her rest. When she woke, she teased, I had a dream about spending the night with an amazing guy. Then I realized it wasn't a dream. I kissed her. We have work soon. I'll take you home so you can change. She laughed. So, I'm not fired? I thought you didn't date employees. We haven't had a date yet, I joked. We just went shopping. The day flew by. I dropped her off, then arrived at work before she did. We kept things quiet for now. As usual, we were the last two to leave. While locking up, she turned to me. Where do we go from here? I want to be with you, but I'm scared. Scared of me? I asked. No of us. I haven't been in a relationship in a while. And neither have you. I'm scared too, I admitted. What if we're not right for each other? I don't want to lose what we have. She stepped closer, voice soft. Then let's take it slow. One day at a time. I pulled her into a hug. What if I'm not enough for you? She whispered. I gently held her face. You're incredible. I'm not going anywhere. She smiled, though uncertainty lingered in her eyes. What now? How about dinner? I suggested. We'll talk more. On the way to her place, we picked up a bottle of wine. Once there, she opened the pantry and frowned. Sorry, Grant. The cupboard's bare. I laughed. Blame me for the RV trip, she said, grinning. I don't. I love it, I replied. I looked into her eyes. And I love you. She froze, searching my face. Then she whispered, I love you too. I pulled her into my arms as she began to cry. I've wanted this for so long, she murmured. After a quiet dinner, we curled up on the sofa. You could have anyone, Grant. I'm not a beauty queen, she said quietly. I shook my head. You have something better, depth. Kindness, loyalty, beauty fades. What you have lasts. She fell silent for a while. Then she said, I think I've loved you for a long time. But after Melanie, I didn't want to believe it. I kissed the top of her head. I've loved you since the day you joined the team. She melted against me, exhaling slowly. That won't happen again, as long as I'm around. I chuckled. Tessa warned me. Wanted to make sure I hired you for the right reasons. I stood up, stretching. I should go? Didn't sleep much last night. Me neither, she said with a dreamy smile. Feels like a dream. I left her place, barely through the door when my phone rang. It was Lena. Dad, where have you been? I've been calling, she said, impatient. Just having dinner with a friend. You're not a monk. Who is she? Maybe I'll tell you later. Come on, Dad, who is she? You'll find out soon. Love you, I said, and hung up before she could press further. Back home, I changed into sweats and flopped onto the couch. A few minutes later, the phone rang again. This time, it was Ren. Just calling to say goodnight, she said gently. Miss you already, I murmured. I told Tessa about us, she added, her voice soft and sleepy. I smiled. So did I? Did you really tell her? Ren asked. I did, I said. She said, it's about time. Ren laughed softly. You could have just said it was me. I wasn't sure how public you wanted to be, I replied. I don't care, she said gently. I just want you to be okay. I am. And I want you to be too. Love you, she said. Love you too. I whispered, then hung up. I turned off the TV and went to bed, feeling both tired and energized. The next chapter of my life wasn't just starting, it was already in motion. The next morning, Tessa called. Grant, we need you to drop Mom off at exactly 7 p.m. next Wednesday. Can you handle that? Shouldn't be a problem, I said. Why the precise timing? Don't tell her, but Haley, our husbands, and I bought her a new car. It's arriving Tuesday, but we need Wednesday to get it cleaned up and add a few extras. The owner's dropping it off at 5. We just need her out of the house until 7. Got it. This is at your place, right? Yep. Everyone else will already be here. My lips are sealed, I said. I'll figure something out. Thanks, Grant. After the call, I sat back and thought about how to pull it off. Keeping a secret from Ren wasn't going to be easy. She was sharp. The week flew by. Between work, planning for the RV pickup, and sneaking in time with Ren, there wasn't much room to breathe. For our first real date, she planned dinner and a jazz concert. I leaned more toward R&B and classic rock, but I wasn't about to argue. Being with her was the point. I arranged to pick up the RV that Sunday. The dealer had everything ready. Saturday evening, I picked her up. When she opened the door, I grinned. Sorry, I was looking for Ren. You must be her younger sister. She laughed. You're silly. Come in. I'll be ready in a second. No, really, I said, admiring her. You look different without the work clothes. She smiled, grabbed her bag, and we headed out. You look amazing, I said as I opened her car door. Thanks. You clean up pretty well yourself. She slid closer as soon as I got in. I had to focus extra hard to keep the car on the road. The restaurant was upscale, linen tablecloths, soft lighting, a well-dressed staff. I ordered her favorite white wine, remembering the brand. Julian, our waiter, suggested pork medallions or filet mignon. We chose both and split them. The food was excellent, and Julian made sure we never had to ask twice for anything. After dinner, we headed to the jazz concert. The band played old standards with some original songs mixed in. I picked up a couple of CDs as souvenirs. Let's check out the club nearby, Ren suggested afterward. It was quieter than expected. The big band music played low, and the dance floor had just enough couples to make it feel alive. We danced. We laughed. The night felt effortless. Back at my place, Ren grabbed her overnight bag and changed into a pink nightgown and fuzzy slippers. I couldn't help but laugh. I think I'm overdressed, she said, smiling. You're perfect, I replied, heading to change. We curled up on the couch. Tonight was perfect, I said. Almost surreal. I've never had a night like this, she admitted, resting her head on my shoulder. Thank you. You're special, Ren. She tilted her head and kissed me, slow and soft. Is this what love feels like? She asked. Because I've never felt like this before. I don't know, I said. But it feels right. Let's go to bed, she whispered. I want to make love all night. Fine by me, I laughed. We don't need to be up until noon anyway. Why noon? RV pickup. Someone's got to drive the car back. Wait, really? Which one did you choose? You'll see tomorrow. I kissed her and led her to the bedroom. The next morning, the smell of fresh coffee pulled me from bed. I assumed Rin made it, but when I walked into the kitchen, I found Lena and Aaron sitting at the table with her. "Well, Dad," Lena said, arms crossed. "Guess we know who the mystery woman is." I laughed. "You two spying on me?" "Had to know," she teased. "Coffee's ready," Rin said. "We've been waiting for you to wake up." After a few minutes, Rin went to change. She and Lena started prepping brunch like it was something they'd done a dozen times. It all felt natural. Aaron borrowed my scroll saw for a project. I handed him a set of keys. "Use whatever you need. Just leave a note if you take something." "Thanks, Dad." Lena'll appreciate it. After brunch, Rin and I were getting ready to head out. "Where are you two going?" Lena asked. "To pick up the motorhome," I replied. "I need someone to drive the car back." Lena grinned. "Can't wait to see it." "I think you'll drool," I said as we left. At the dealership, the process dragged. I didn't understand why it took an hour to fill out paperwork for a simple cash purchase. No financing, no trade-in, no drama. At least the salesman didn't push extras on me. Once that was done, we moved on to orientation, which felt more like flight school than RV basics. Every switch had a label, and every label had a manual. They handled the registration and plates, and my insurance company, BCA, had already set up the coverage. Finally, we pulled away. The RV was a bit smaller than the rental I'd loved, but it was one of Rin's top picks. And it had everything we'd need for weekend getaways or long drives with no destination in mind. To my surprise, Lena and Aaron were still at the house when we got back. "Wow," Aaron said, circling the RV like a kid on Christmas. "This thing's loaded." "It's not the biggest, but it's got heart," I said. He nodded, clearly impressed. Lena peeked inside, wide-eyed. "Okay," she said. "I take it back. This is seriously cool." I smiled, feeling like maybe, for once, I wasn't just starting over. I was building something better. I'd already decided the RV wouldn't just sit in the driveway looking pretty. It was too expensive to let it gather dust. So, I planned to offer it to my staff and their families on one condition: they paid for the fuel. A fair trade for creating some memories. After Lena and Aaron had their fill of admiring it, they said goodbye. Rin, on the other hand, stayed behind, thoroughly exploring every compartment like a kid on Christmas morning. I parked it in the backyard and sat in the cockpit. Yes, they actually call it that, flipping through the manuals like I was studying for a pilot's license. That's when the idea hit me. A test drive. Wednesday, I'd pick up Rin after work, take the RV for a spin, and drop by Tessa's place just in time for the surprise. Eventually, I lured Rin out of the RV and onto the patio. We sipped wine as the sun dropped behind the fence. Being with her felt easy, comfortable. I hadn't realized how much I'd missed this kind of connection, honest companionship, the kind that wasn't wrapped in expectation or hidden resentment. She giggled suddenly, and I glanced over. "What's so funny?" I asked. Her eyes sparkled. "Just picturing you driving the RV past your ex's place. Total, look what you missed out on moment." I chuckled. "You know, not a bad idea." She raised an eyebrow. "You? Into petty revenge?" "Not really," I admitted. "But I'd pay good money to see her face when she realizes she traded down." Ren laughed again. "I'm glad she was an idiot. I got lucky." I smiled. "So did I. That whole mess feels like a lifetime ago now. But hey, if we hadn't taken that post-divorce trip, we might not be sitting here. At least she was a decent mom." "You've got two great kids," she said. "And you had the patience of a saint raising your girls," I replied. "I know that couldn't have been easy." We both fell quiet for a beat before I asked, "Have you told your daughters about us yet?" She shook her head. "Not yet. I'm seeing Tessa soon, and maybe Haley if I can swing it. But Lena seems okay with us." "What about Colin?" I asked. "He'll be fine. He's always been the chill one." I was more worried about Lena. "Things were rough between you two for a while." I nodded. "Colin came around after I kicked Melanie out. Lena took longer, but she's warming up. I think she sees how happy I am." Ren smiled. "I'm sure they'll all be happy for us." "How about an early dinner?" I offered. "Something easy, salad and grilled chicken?" She raised an eyebrow. "Early as in bedtime, or early as in actual dinner?" "Dinner," I laughed. "But yeah, I wouldn't mind turning in early." "That, I like," she teased. We threw together a light meal, opened a chilled bottle of Chardonnay, and ate on the deck under soft lighting. Afterward, I drove her home. The week passed fast. Between meetings, errands, and prep for the RV pickup, I barely had time to catch my breath. Then came Wednesday. Around 4:30, Ren peeked into my office. "So, what's for dinner?" I grinned. "How about something quick at the diner? Then we take the RV for a spin." "I've been looking forward to that all week," she said. "Pick you up in 30? Make it 25. I'm changing now. Then we'll swing by your place to grab Maxine." "Maxine?" I asked, confused. "Yep," she laughed. "That's what I named your RV. She's smart, sassy, and a little over the top, just like Maxine from the cartoons." I groaned. "Why do women name everything?" "Because we make life interesting," she called over her shoulder. After wrapping up at the office, I drove home. Ren was already waiting outside her building. "That was fast," I said. "Not even 20 minutes, she grinned. "Let's go. I'm starving." We stopped briefly at my place, then took Maxine into town. The diner was its usual charming self. No frills, just good food and strong coffee. Ren stuck with coffee too, since I was driving. After dinner, we drove around for a while so I could get used to handling the RV. Ren sat in the captain's chair, grinning the entire time. At 6:59 on the dot, I pulled up in front of Tessa's house. "What do you think?" I asked. "You think they'll want to check out Maxine?" She narrowed her eyes. "You knew we were coming here, didn't you?" I tried to look innocent. "Just thought we could grab coffee." Before she could reply, the front door burst open. Her family rushed out, shouting, "Surprise!" She spun toward me, eyes wide, and then started laughing before being swept into hugs and birthday wishes. I locked up the RV and followed her inside. Tessa and Haley introduced me to their husbands, and the grandkids clung to Ren like she was a rock star. Out on the deck, the big surprise waited, a shiny magenta Toyota Avalon, complete with a giant red bow. Ren's reaction was perfect, stunned, then emotional. She circled the car, tearing up. "I can't believe this," she whispered. "It's too much." The grandkids practically dragged her into the driver's seat. The pride and love from her family was overwhelming and well-deserved. Later, as we gathered for cake and ice cream, I sat back and soaked it all in. The laughter, the warmth, the perfect moment. About an hour in, I stood up and raised my voice. "Hey everyone, I know tonight's about Ren, but I've got a few words." The chatter died down. I looked around the room. First, let's give Tessa and Haley a big hand for pulling this off. The applause was loud and full of smiles. And now, about that big bus parked out front. That's my latest toy. After the divorce, I took a road trip in a rental RV and loved it. So I bought one. A few people nodded or clapped. I won't use it every week, so I've decided to open it up to the staff and their families. It's available for trips, as long as you cover gas. First come, first serve. Well, after me. Laughter and more applause. Once the noise settled, I added, "Now, I know you all think you know Ren, but trust me, you don't." She looked up at me, eyes narrowing with mock suspicion. When I first hired her, she barely spoke to anyone. Wouldn't even talk to the office goose. Everyone laughed. She wasn't great at her job at first, either, but she stuck with it. Over time, she found her groove and her voice. I looked directly at her. And now, I can't imagine my life without her. That got a laugh, especially from the techs. "But seriously," I said, grinning, "Ren's become one of the most essential people on our team." I paused, letting the moment settle. However, I dragged the word out just long enough to raise eyebrows. All good things come to an end. The room fell silent. A few confused glances. Some nervous shifting. Then I looked at Ren and said, "I'm afraid I have to fire you." Gasps all around. Immediate protests. Amber looked horrified. One of the techs stood like he might object out loud. I held up my hands to quiet the chaos. "You see, I can't have my wife working for me, can I?" For a second, the room froze. Then, complete and total pandemonium. Ren's eyes went wide. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I dropped to one knee and pulled out a small black box. "Ren," I said, voice shaking just a little, "will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" Tears burst from her eyes as she nodded, falling into my arms. Adults cried. Kids stared in confusion until Tessa explained what was happening. Once things calmed down, we got back to celebrating. The women gathered around Ren to admire the ring. The men clapped my back like I'd won something, which, honestly, I had. Tessa pretended to scold us for stealing her birthday thunder, but she and Haley were beaming. Later, as we walked out to the car, I told Ren, "Take tomorrow off. Handle the car stuff. If there are extra costs, have BCA call me." She looked at me, still blinking like she hadn't processed it all. Grant, I never imagined you proposing like that. I'm still trying to absorb it. I smiled. I think I've loved you for years. But it took that trip to the Rockies for me to see it clearly. I was scared, I added. After everything with Melanie, I wasn't sure I had it in me again. I'm just relieved you nodded yes. Technically, she said with a grin, you didn't get a verbal yes. Are you saying I misread the situation? Absolutely not. Officially? 1,000 times yes. I'll marry you. If these seats were any closer, she added, you'd never be able to drive. I'm not sleeping alone tonight, I said. Let me grab a bag and You can't come back to my place, she interrupted. I blinked. Oh. Her face softened. Sweetheart, it's our place now. Move in whenever you want. Sublease the apartment. Buy out the lease. Whatever works for you. I laughed. You're gonna tease me until the end, aren't you? Go sit tight, she said. I'll be back in 15. True to her word, she returned with an overnight bag. I think I'll start filling up my side of the closet, I joked. Whatever you want, sweetheart, she said with a giggle. Let's go home. As we drove, she looked out the window and sighed. Grant, did I ever tell you your wife was an idiot? I think you've hinted at it, I smiled. Well, I was. But I'm the luckiest idiot on the planet now. We parked Maxine in the backyard and got her buttoned up for the night. As I came around with Rin's suitcase, I saw her curled up on the deck chaise, quietly crying. Sweetheart, what's wrong? Are you okay? She nodded, wiping at her cheeks. I'm fine. It's just, tonight. The proposal. The car. Everyone being so happy. It's a lot. I sat beside her and pulled her into my arms. She let herself cry for a few minutes, then sat back and said, You need to call Lena and Colin, right? Or, did they already know? Nope. Only Tessa knew about the car. The proposal was all me. She wiped her face and shook her head. Let's not make a habit of this. I don't think my heart can take another surprise party proposal. Noted, I chuckled. You're such a brat, she said, swatting my arm. I'm a mess. I need to clean up. Call your kids. I'll need a glass of Chardonnay. Go on, I said, kissing her cheek. I'll bring the wine out when you're ready. I poured her a glass and dialed Lena first. After a few minutes of catching up, I handed the phone to Rin. Then I called Colin. Both were happy for us. No hesitation. No drama. They promised to be there for the wedding. We settled on a backyard ceremony 3 months out. Maxine would serve as our honeymoon suite, with a return trip to Riverside already penciled in. Wedding planning filled the weeks ahead, though I wisely kept my input minimal. Rin chose Tessa as matron of honor, with Haley and Lena as bridesmaids. I asked Colin to be my best man. Noah and an old friend stood with me as groomsmen. When the day arrived, I was a wreck, but everything went off without a hitch. Rin wore a pale blue gown that made the whole backyard glow. We exchanged vows under the arbor, followed by a buffet, champagne, and even a live band that Tessa hired as a surprise. We snuck away that night to a lakeside resort for a quiet honeymoon kickoff, then returned the next morning to a house full of family cleaning up the remains of the party. After hugs and leftover cake, we packed Maxine and hit the road. At the first campground, fellow RVers waved us in, until we spotted the sign our kids had stuck to the back. Young newlyweds, age 29 again. We left it up for laughs. In Riverside, Hank and June greeted us like royalty. We've got your site ready, Hank said, grinning. We're covering your stay, Jen added. I shook my head. You're not. But we'll take the extra week if you have it. We stayed 2 full weeks, revisiting old trails, grilling by the lake, and making new memories, this time as husband and wife. When it was finally time to head home, we weren't just returning to routine, we were beginning a brand new chapter. And for once in my life, everything finally felt right.